Just listen to this. Great. Now, that noise, that was our studio audience here laughing their heads off, is apparently one of the most irritating sounds to people who watch television at home. Well, like it or not, what many viewers don't realise is that a lot of time and trouble can go into warming up an audience before a show. Now, it's a job that's done by people who go by the name of warm-up men. They're professional comics, most with faces and names that you'd probably never recognise. But they're vital to the success of live television programmes. And we've invited 3 of Britain's top warm-up men along to the studio today. And a little earlier, we let each of them loose on our studio audience. And here they are.
Heidi, hi! Once more, Heidi, hi! We're doing a new series and we're doing the second one on Saturday, so do look in, won't you? I don't want you to because you're not laughing, but I want you to really to enter in the spirit of the thing. And, oh, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Sons of the sea. Actions now. Sailing the ocean. Actions above me, up and down like this.
During the show, don't be afraid, when the cameras point your way, don't be afraid to show those dentures. All right, Joan? Don't take them out, though, or anything like that. That's how it was, you know. My granddad, he came once, he's 97, he's just got married to a girl, 92. I mean, he didn't have to get married, he just decided to. It's funny, a few weeks ago, we went to this agricultural show, and he took all his clothes off and streaked through the flower tent. He won first prize as a dried arrangement.
We are going live, as I say. Not many shows these days are live. Most shows are recorded. The news is recorded. Jan Lim is 88. It's true. Actually, Norman Tebbett's trying to take over here, isn't he? Hey, he's had a lot of influence here recently. They're getting rid of Howard's way to run it Norman's way. Did you see that today? Jeffrey Archer's just failed his driving test. Every time he saw a red light, he accelerated. Ladies and gentlemen, we do go live on the air in just a minute, OK? Nice big round of applause when we actually start. Do enjoy it. I'll see you very later. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the Pamela Armstrong show. See you later. Ta-da!
With me in the studio is Jeff Stevenson, Felix Bonus and our own Denny Hodge. Now, Felix, you've done a lot of warm-up shows, haven't you? Who do you work for?
Well, I work for Terry Wogan, who will be on a bit later on tonight. Damn nice man. Ted Rogers, David Croft in Hello Hello and shows, and sometimes when he can't do it...
He's done more warm-ups than Joan Collins' Electric Blanket.
and Denny, what sorts of shows do you work
Yeah, I do blockbusters, mainly quiz shows, really. Telly Addicts, Bullseye, Catchphrase.
So how did our audience shape up today? I thought they were pretty good, yes.
I thought they were dreadful.
Oh, now come on, don't be so hard
they
on
weren't bad. But that lady there in green, I like her.
Denny, do you have to have a different kind of style for different audiences?
Oh, I think so, yeah, because when we do blockbusters, we get a much younger crowd in for that, you know. And, of course, when we do some of the afternoon shows, you get more of a mature crowd. For instance, when we used to do Pebble Mill at 1, the audience used to leave about 1:45, and some of them were still leaving at 6.
So they really enjoyed it. They had a wonderful time. Jeff, what about the different audiences that you work with?
Well, I do the Late Late Breakfast show most Saturdays, and that is a show where you have to really, I mean, you do 20 minutes going into the audience, telling them how we're going to use them. There's different things. Like last week we had Frank Bruno on the show, and when he walked in with the Whirly Wheeler, all the audience had to stand up and make out it was a boxing ring, where you have to rehearse things like that, even though they are still a good audience. But I also do another show, Daytime, which is really like a serious news programme. I mean, yesterday we talked about murderers and tomorrow we're talking about AIDS. So, I mean, you can't go out and do jokes to people who are talking about a subject like that. So every show is different.
Do you think, Felix, that warm-up people are underestimated?
Oh, yes, I definitely do. When you're doing a situation comedy, you've got to be on and off, when they blow a line or a camera, you have to go on and cover. But when you're doing like the Wogan or your show here, I mean, it's 5 minutes. You do 5 minutes or 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, you go and do your thing, and it's over, and you're going to have a hospitality, which we will join you for afterwards.
Yes.
But you don't have to work as hard as... on a live show as you do on a situation show. I mean, 3, 2, 1 is 2.5 to 3 hours, and it's only a 45-minute programme, so you are on quite a lot with Ted, and if you get on with people. But if they like you, the audience, and you like the show, they're going to like the show, I think you'll agree, that little bit more, because they like you. If they don't like you, it's no good.
But, Denny, do audiences behave? Do they actually do what they're told? Because they do have to operate differently for different shows.
Yeah, they do, really. I think what you've got to remember is that every time you go on, of course, you're working from cold, you see. I mean, one of the golden rules of show business is never open with a comedy act. But of course, when you're in a TV studio, you know, the comedy man is this guy that has to start off the whole thing. So really, I don't like this term warm-up men, really. It's really sort of audience liaison people, aren't we? You know, you're sort of breaking down the
audience.
You
want to take yourself into the 21st century
well, I think
and
so,
really
yeah.
update your image.
Warm-up men, I mean, you're doing your thing, aren't you,
Well, you're bridging the gap, really. If you've got an audience that have come in to see a show, you're bridging the gap between the technical side of it and the audience. And, I mean, if there's a break, you're there to talk to them. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do jokes. There's a lot of warm-up men don't stand there and tell... I mean, you don't tell many jokes, do you?
I really don't do. I mean, and you do both of those.
I think things as well, if there's a breakdown, you never know how long it's going to be either. I mean, the longest I've ever had to fill in was about 50 minutes. Well, you don't want the audience rolling around for 50 minutes, for instance, because they're going to laugh themselves out. So you've got to sort of gear your material and then, hopefully, just before they start to record again, get the audience back to that bubbly...
When you said warm-up men, we went... I'm sorry I crossed you there. I don't mind being called warm-up man, as long as I get paid. I've been doing it for 20 years.
And is the pay good? Is the pay good?
No, no, it isn't. It's very badly paid. There's a collection to do.
And that's why you keep coming back and doing it.
Oh, I enjoy doing it.
Remember when the Archers had an allotment, can't you, Felix?
Oh, you see, I've got an advantage over these two. I remember what it was like to be young. I didn't think of it. What, are they alive out there, for God?
Jeff, how difficult is it, really, as a job?
It can. I mean, it's difficult when you start, but after a while, I mean, I've just done summer season in Blackpool, and I came back and suddenly I was doing warm-ups again in between summer season and pantomime. And it took me a week to get back into the run of not going out and doing the act, because normally if you're doing the act every night, you just go out and think of the act straight away. Whereas if you're doing warm-ups, I mean, if I'm doing a warm-up, I don't really break into gags for the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes, you're just there to make the people feel relaxed. And you only really do the gags if there's a gap.
Isn't there sometimes, though, a feeling that you're always the bridesmaid and never the bride?
No, well, I would say that this has been asked several times, been asked this question. I couldn't care less. I like to see people get on. I like to help them. I give 110% of my efforts, I suppose we all do, to whatever show I'm doing. And I only just feel something...
Wouldn't you like to be in front of the camera
No, I'm just happy doing Heidi
Well, the three of us are. I mean, I know Denny was on Piccadilly a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I've just started doing
Felix
TV now, yeah.
Is in one of the top television comedy shows, aren't you?
So Denny, what was it like going in front of the camera, having been on that person?
It was quite nerve-wracking, because the Piccadilly show is a live show, but, I mean, I've been on Pamela Armstrong quite a few times, because I used to be a window cleaner here.
There were a lot of windows.
Listen, I could do
there were a
some-
lot of
these-
windows.
Can you arrange for it when you've got short people on? My feet don't reach... Look
But
at this.
is your aim to get in front of the camera?
Yeah,
do you think that's what warm-up
I
people
think
want to do in the
that
end?
doing warm-ups is the best way to learn how to work a television studio. I mean, nowadays, with warm-up... Well, nowadays, comedians have got to base it out more for television than they have for live work, because the live work's not there like it was, is it?
No, there's definitely not. I do a lot of speaking after dinner speaking as well, which is virtually the same as doing a warm-up. I don't do my cabaret as much as I'd like to.
You get a meal as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, you do. Oh, we get hospitality here today.
Well, you're obviously very good at it, and you do it a lot, but have you ever had an audience that's gone wild on you or done something you really... Jeff?
We were doing the Late Late Breakfast Show one week. I'm sure a lot of viewers will remember this. And there was an outside broadcast where the guy in this car had to jump over these cars. So they went to the outside broadcast, it was the end of the show, he went up in the car and came down. It was a terrible accident, and the camera panned in, and it looked as though the guy had been killed. But, fortunately, he wasn't any recovered. So the show finished, Noel rushed upstairs, obviously, to see what had happened. Everybody left the floor, and I said, Jeff, go out and entertain him for 5 minutes, and we'll have some news later. And there were people in the audience crying and upset because of it. Fortunately, the guy recovered, but that was a bit hair-raising.
So how do you feel? I mean, how do you go out and film in a situation like that?
May I cut across? Sure. This happened to me, that I was doing a show, That's My Boy in Yorkshire Television, and there's a doctor in that episode, in the show, and I was talking to a man, I went to, because I had to go in the audience to go up through a little higher, and I've been talking to this man. Next minute, there was a thump. I looked behind. This man had a heart attack, keeled over. And I said, would somebody give me a hand, this gentleman? You know, I'm trying to lift him up. The security men thought it was all part of the act and laughed. And we did have a nurse in the audience, and he didn't die, but it was a shattering thing for me. And I thought, this is going to kill the show. And the man came up to me and said, why couldn't that doctor come up and help you? A doctor isn't sure. And he was an actor. I mean, he wasn't a doctor, you see, but that is the sort of thing. And I said, well, I mean, I didn't know. I said, he isn't a doctor. He's not. He said, but yeah, he could have come up. He's a doctor. He knows a bit about it. Why did he come up? And that is truly what happened. Molly Sagdon show. That's my boy.
Denny, has anything happened with you with audiences?
Oh, we had a nice moment one day when on Pamela Armstrong, I was just about to introduce the audience to Paul Coyer. And I said, and now we have Paul Coyer, who is our good-looking, sophisticated, suave presenter. I said, he's a bit too good-looking, to be honest. And this one in the audience said, yeah, agree with you, sir. I think he's too good. He said, so I prefer somebody like yourself.
Charming. That's absolutely charming.
What could you say? I just
That's absolutely
smacked
charming. Listen, are you all going to go on doing warm-ups? Do you really
Oh, I
enjoy
think
it?
I hope I go on to take me into my pension, which isn't all that long away. But if if Heidi High keeps running on, I should be delighted. And I should be delighted to do any warm-up shows and that's going.
All right, we'll take your name and number.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, Felix and Denny, thanks very much for coming along. Ladies and
Thank you,
gentlemen,
Pamela.
let's give them a big clap. Yeah!
Well done.
When my next guest